So far in my World of Warcraft journey, I have leveled 3 entire characters. My first was my warrior Fartinsniff, who was all about learning the game and exploring the world for the first time. My second was my mage, who I wanted to be the complete opposite of my warrior, using the best XP grinding methods and learning how to do the best farms in the entire game. And most recently was my new main druid, which was honestly the most fun I've had yet. So many different playstyles and having a very unique PvP style. But my quest to play every single class in World of Warcraft doesn't end here, and it is time to select my next class. And well, after not so careful consideration, I have decided to play a rogue. And just to spice things up even more, we will not be playing Alliance, but it will be my very first time experiencing the Horde side of things, and I went with an undead. So I gave my character a nice big mohawk and claimed my name. Before we get started, I would like to say that we are going for 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so any help is appreciated. It costs you nothing and it means the world to me. As we begin to load in for the first time, I just can't help but get excited. New class, new race, new zone, and new faction. I was eager to find out just how different leveling as a member of the Horde is, and I was excited to explore the Horde side of all the zones I previously loved to level in. And our journey begins inside of Trisfall Glades, inside of a catacomb type thing. First things first, I gotta fix that. Much better. I make my way inside of this old broken looking church thing, and it all begins with this very first quest: to slay 8 mindless zombies and 8 wretched zombies, which I was able to get done pretty quickly. My next 2 quests really wouldn't be too far from the first, making me kill 12 skeletons, collect 6 paws and 6 wings. I then had to venture off slightly to slay 10 young spiders, and even had to brave a cave in order to kill 8 more spiders, which was followed by the quest to kill and collect 12 scarlet armbands and to collect the scarlet documents from Maven Korgal. I could then turn in the quest and begin making my way out of the undead starting zone. And already we were level 5, and I had started to fall in love with my new character. And I've said it before, but I am not built for the glory of the Alliance. The Horde is much more my style. Don't get me wrong, I love Elwyn Forest. It's one of the coziest zones in any game I've played, but there's just something about the Horde that feels right. Now, my plan was to make it all the way to Brill, but I kinda got distracted by an NPC called Gordo, who offered me the task of collecting 3 Gloomweed. I was also distracted by this quest that took me to this farm plot to pick up Trisfall pumpkins. But after that, we had successfully made it into Brill, where I filled up my quest log and set my Hearthstone, and then got stuck straight into questing. Now, I don't really have any goals for this character. I just want to explore the world from the opposite faction. But I've recently learned that the Horde get access to a dungeon right from the young age of level 13. So that is the goal that I will set for today's video: to complete a run of Ragefire Chasm. The first of many things to do around here is to collect 7 putrid claws from various undead mobs placed around the outside of Brill. I also had to venture off and slay an assortment of gnolls, because it wouldn't be a World of Warcraft session if we weren't killing a gazillion gnolls, which honestly took me a while to complete, but it did take us up to level 7. I also killed skeletons for notched ribs and cursed darkhounds for darkhound blood. I then had to go all the way back to where I did the pumpkin quest to kill scarlet freaks, so maybe I should have waited and done the pumpkin quest at the same time. I then returned to Brill because I could now turn in all of the quests. I then decided that it was time for a little trip to the Undercity, where I was able to pick myself up mining, a few weapon skills, and engineering. Because if you've watched my other videos, then you'll know how annoying it is to get the War Chief's Blessing buff on Alliance. So my plan, hopefully, is to be able to just go and get it myself with my new character Fartinshank. I wonder how the Horde get Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. With all that Undercity excitement out of the way, I of course returned to the world for more questing. Now we have a crap ton of quests to get done here, such as killing dusk bats for their pelt, and I even came across this rare mob, and naturally I thought that I could take it down. I was wrong. I also went off to kill even more Scarlet Freaks in order to collect rings off of their corpses and paid a visit to the Murlocs, because it wouldn't be a World of Warcraft session if we weren't killing a million Murlocs. I then went up to the very north of the zone, because apparently I had something to do here, but I couldn't quite figure out what it was that I needed to do, so I ended up just skipping over it. And that's when I came across another rare mob, which I was actually able to take down this time, but no fancy loot. I then returned once more to Brill to turn in the quests and visited my class trainer, where I learned to dual wield. And so of course, using the small amount of gold that I had inexplicably acquired, I decided to buy myself a couple of swords. Now I'm not sure if I should be using 2 swords, because I know as a warrior, I should be using a slow main hand and a fast offhand, but let me know in the comments if it's the same. Now whilst I did still have a couple of quests left in Tristful Glades, I decided to start moving south and into Silverpine Forest, which I think is very similar to Tristful Glades aesthetically, although I would say it's slightly more green and less heavy on the death theme. I first started by teaming up with a random troll in order to complete an escort quest, which was followed up by a simple kill quest, making us kill wolves in order to collect discolored hearts. Afterwards, I moved deeper into Silverpine Forest until I came across a place called the Sepulchre, and it's a pretty standard place, equipped with a mailbox, lots of quests, and a taxi service thing. But with my quest log now filled up, it was about time that I started to grind out some XP, and I started with this quest to kill 5 Moonrage White Scalps, a nice and simple quest. And I gotta say, Cannibalize is such a nice ability to have, being able to replenish your health very quickly for free. I also had to collect grizzled bear hearts and enter into this abandoned looking building to take out Ivar the Foul. I then paid a visit to this spider infested cave in order to collect skittering blood. I could then return to the Sepulchre to turn in the quests. Now at this point I was level 12, and don't get me wrong, I was still having a lot of fun here, but there is still one place that I wanted to quest in before my level became too high, and that was of course the Crossroads. So I went back to the Undercity and used the inexplicably acquired gold to purchase myself a portal to Orgrimmar. Orgrimmar, the capital city of the Horde. And I gotta say, this place looks terrible. Nah, I'm just kidding. But as someone who has spent a significant amount of time in the retail version of Orgrimmar, I gotta say, the classic version is completely different. First things first, I decided to set my Hearthstone here instead of Undercity, and I also got started working on the engineering leveling, because as an undead rogue, I plan to be sending off as many iron grenades as my bony ass fingers will let me. Now, as I was leaving Orgrimmar to make my way over to the Crossroads, that's when I noticed something. I had both Warchief's Blessing and Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer active. What? You Horde players get both? For free? See, I thought Rally was an Alliance exclusive and the Warchief's Blessing was a Horde exclusive. I didn't realize you just get to have both. That's insane! But that only made me more excited to get questing in the Barrens. It wouldn't take long until I had arrived at the Crossroads, and I gotta say, something about this place just feels right. I can't explain it. In order not to waste any time on my world buffs, I cleared up my quest log and my bag and accepted every quest that was nearby. And it was time to see just how powerful these world buffs can be. Holy crap. Now at first I thought that was just the Planestriders, so of course I had to test it on some pigs, because it wouldn't be a World of Warcraft session. That's it. I never want to hear a single Horde player complain ever again. You guys have it so unbelievably good with these world buffs, but I cannot lie. Running around the zone, two-shotting every mob felt incredible. But first up on the list is everybody's favourite quest, collecting Planestrider Beaks, which is a pretty easy quest because these chickens spawn literally all over the entire zone. Next, I finished killing the pigs, which thanks to the world buffs, I got completed within a couple of minutes. I then started moving into the zone, killing Planestriders as I went, until I arrived at the little oasis kind of area to pick up fungal spores. I kept moving north, killing raptors along along the way until I got to the area that was absolutely swarming with harpies. Now all I have to do here is collect 8 talons, which sounds pretty simple, except these things would never drop. And just to put it into perspective of how powerful having 2 world buffs active is, I was able to kill harpies that were 4 and 5 levels higher than me like it was nothing. And 15 years later, and the last talon finally dropped. Now that is quite a lot of questing, and that got us all the way up to level 14, which should be enough for Ragefire Chasm, but that would have to wait for another day. Now I actually wouldn't log back onto my rogue for a good week or so, but when I did come back, the first thing I wanted to do was run the dungeon. So I listed myself onto the LFG tool and patiently waited for an invite. And not too long after, I did receive my invite. Now I love Ragefire Chasm. I know some of you will probably say it's boring, and fair enough, but this is really the only part of WoW that I can say is somewhat nostalgic for me. Because the very first time I played the game was when I was like 8, and I played for a grand total of 2 days, and the only dungeon that I could figure out how to run was Ragefire Chasm. Now the group that I joined had already cleared the first chunk of the dungeon, but that's okay, it's not really much of an XP loss. Now pretty much immediately after catching up to my teammates, we started going in a direction that I didn't recognize. In the retail version of the dungeon, this pathway doesn't exist, and it actually goes all the way around the corner and up a ramp, which then connects to a room with what I think is the first boss called Oggleflint. Love that name. Actually, now that I'm looking on Atlas Loot, I don't think that this is a boss. But afterwards, we come back to the path that I am familiar with, and we clear all the way through the Molten Elementals until we get to what I am most certain is a boss. Tarragam the Hungerer. He's a big scary demon guy. It's cool, I suppose. And he dropped some cloth wrists, which obviously isn't very useful for us, and it wouldn't take long before we started going up another path that I didn't recognize. In retail, you just go along the bottom part and there's the last boss. But here we go all the way up and around until we get to what I think is the last boss, Basilan. And he dropped a male waist, which, once again, isn't of any use to us. And then we drop down and clear all of the mobs until we have a path to the exit. So overall, pretty decent dungeon, couple of bosses, lots of mobs, and it's just genuinely a pretty cool looking dungeon, miles better than the Stormwind Stockades. Hope you all enjoyed today's video because I enjoyed making it, I always do. I apologise for the slightly shorter video today, I've just been quite busy over the past week or so. As I said in the outro a good 2 or so weeks ago, I am going to try and make every video at least 20 minutes long, which obviously means it'll take an extra day or 2 to record. Plus, I decided that I'm going to rank on my druid, which I know I said I wasn't going to do, but I can't resist the martial legs. As for content, I'm working on another druid video, but I imagine that won't be out for another at least 2 to 3 weeks, but until then, I think we will just continue the Horde adventure. And we actually hit 6,000 subscribers a few days ago, which is just crazy, like we only just hit 5,000 a week or 2 ago. And lads, we're growing the channel so fast now, and it's just insane, so thank you guys so much for that. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all later.